Hello and welcome to the Treat Trooper. Today we'll be making VADER vegan Reuben sandwiches. Because nothing says VADER quite like vegan food. This recipe uses tempeh and a delicious zingy marinade that will leave you wanting more and more. Just like Kylo Ren is not a replacement for Darth Vader, this recipe is not a perfect substitute for an actual Reuben, but is enjoyable and unique in its own way. This recipe uses tempeh. It's made by deep frying fermented soybeans. Tempeh has a firm texture with a slightly nutty flavor. It's rather plain, so it needs a good marinade. The assortment we have here makes for a dynamic and delicious flavor. This is also a great recipe for those trying to eat healthier, even if you aren't vegan. Right, now tempeh has a great texture, far more substantial than tofu, and absorbs flavor just as well. First we'll need a square dish. Square is far better so that every piece of tempeh can be submerged in our marinade. Right, let's get to it. First we'll add 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Second, we'll add 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This combination will give us a lovely zing. Right, next we will add 2 tablespoons of gluten-free tamari or soy sauce. Like tamari, liquid aminos are another healthy substitute to soy sauce if you prefer. Right, now moving on to our next ingredient, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. We're using vegan Worcestershire sauce here, but if this dish doesn't need to be fully vegan for you, regular Worcestershire is suitable as well. Alright, coming along nicely. Next we will add 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke mixed with 2 tablespoons of water. Oh yes, a smoky aroma. It really adds to the meaty illusion. Next we have all our spices. We have here 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of mustard powder, 1 teaspoon of coriander, and 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Regular paprika works as well, but smoked paprika complements the liquid smoke we added earlier. Now last but certainly not least, we have garlic. We'll be adding the equivalent of 2 cloves of garlic. Feel free to use bottled garlic if you don't have any fresh on hand, or 1 teaspoon garlic powder if that's all you've got. Right, now let's grab our fork and begin to whisk our marinade together. Make sure you get any clumps of spices, as they tend to get sticky once you add them to the liquid. Stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring. Heavens! Right, now we'll set that aside and it's time to slice our tempeh. For this recipe you will need 1 8-ounce pack of tempeh. Any kind will do, as long as it's unflavored. Now we're going to cut our tempeh into 6 pieces. First cut into thirds, and then similar to a butterfly cut, slice the tempeh in half the long way, but complete the cut all the way through so we have 6 separate pieces. Perfect, and there we are. Now let's place our tempeh in our marinade. Place the tempeh pieces so we get as much submersion as possible. Once our tempeh is snugly seated in our marinade, wiggle things around to ensure all pieces are at least somewhat covered. Then, to top it off, we will dip a spoon gently into the corner and spoon marinade over the top. You want your tempeh to be fully submerged, much like that swine Luke Skywalker's X-Wing was on Dagobah. Then we'll give our hands a wipe. Right, once we have all our trooper tempeh thoroughly submerged in our marinade, we will cover with a wee bit of foil and let marinate for an hour or more. Feel free to marinate overnight if you'd like to prep ahead of time. Right, now we've let our tempeh marinate and it's time to get these puppies on the grill. Our Trooper will be using a non-stick flat top, but a normal non-stick pan is just fine. Once we place the tempeh on the pan, we'll spoon excess marinade over the top, which will caramelize into a wonderful crust. But this only works with a non-stick pan. Otherwise, your pan will suck all the delicious flavor right off your tempeh like a minox sucking the power out of a ship. And onto our pan it goes. We're going to place our tempeh as close together as possible for when we spoon the marinade over the top. Alright, after a few minutes on low to medium heat, we're going to spoon our excess marinade over the tempeh. Try not to make as big of a mess as our trooper did, but do be just as generous with the marinade. We're intentionally making little marinade puddles, which will be important for our next step. Once the marinade around the edges is bubbling nicely, we will flip our tempeh and land it right over the caramelizing marinade. This way our tempeh gets a lovely and delicious crust. Feel free to use a spoon if you're struggling as horrifically as our trooper. And last one. As you can see, the sides that have been cooking already have a bit of that caramelization we're looking for. Right, now we're halfway there. Ah yes, the zingy aroma filling the air is magnificent. Now it's time to wield the most powerful part of a sandwich, the bread. We're going to add it to our flat top to get a light toast on it. You can toast any way you prefer and make it as light or as dark as you like. Our trooper enjoys putting the bread in the excess caramelized marinade so we can get a few of those scrumptious bits on our bread. Ah yes, there we are. Ooh, getting excited. Our tempeh is just about finished, so we'll turn our burners to the lowest setting while we dress our bread. Now it's time to get saucy. We'll be using a vegan Thousand Island to keep with the theme of this dish, but feel free to use regular Thousand Island if you don't need it fully vegan. We're going to put a generous amount on both slices of bread, but you may put as much or as little as you like. Careful of any drips. Give it a good spread so it's nice and even across our bread. Now time for the star of the show, our savoury zesty tempeh with our caramelized crust. You can do a single layer for 2 sandwiches or a double layer for 1 whopping sandwich. Our trooper opted for the middle of that. And for our final ingredient, sauerkraut. You thought we were done? Oh ho ho, no, no. We cannot have a Reuben without sauerkraut. Now we'll grab a fork. Unless you want an exceedingly frustrating experience, do not use a spoon for this. This is a new jar, so it's not cold from the fridge, but if you're using sauerkraut from the fridge, our trooper recommends you throw it on the grill for a few minutes at the end of cooking your tempeh. Now, our trooper adores the tangy treat that is sauerkraut, so we'll be stacking it nice and high, but you may add as much or as little as you like. Right, now time to put the sandwich hat on, and then cut our creation in half. Oh yes, our mouth is watering now. This is looking lovely. Just a bit of a tip, it's much easier to cut sandwiches like this with a serrated knife. Alright, now time for the reveal. Looking absolutely divine. Our sandwich is stacked high, smells incredible, and we can't wait to dig in. Right, let's just dive on in and have a bite. And heavens, yes! Positively divine! This sandwich is so flavorful. It's a Trooper tangy treat that's impossible to beat. This sandwich is full of healthy enzymes and probiotics, so not only is it wonderful for your taste buds, it's wonderful for your insides as well. This sandwich is a dream for those who love zingy flavors and pickled flavors. It is balanced perfectly with 1000 Island, giving a bit of sweetness and rounding it out. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Treat Trooper. Please give this recipe a try and send us pictures of your creations on Instagram at Treat Trooper. If you'd like to see more videos, click over here to subscribe and over here for more recipes. If you enjoyed this recipe, please give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. And a Trooper Toodaloo to you!